Okay, let's see if this works this time. It says excellent connection now. So I'm going to take their word for it that this is working. Let me put it on my phone here. I see Evan and David and Josh, and I think David's probably correct. It may be the Easter stuff going on. But I'm looking on my phone, it's looking okay. So Evan says you should get a technical difficulties card that has you in overalls sweeping the studio. Yeah, I could do that. That sounds like a good idea. Um, so I'm just going to give it a second, give some people some time to pop back in, and hopefully this is going to work okay. On my phone, it's looking like it's working good. So okay. Um, Evan, David, and Josh are here. I think we had a few more. We had Chris and a few more there, so we'll wait. And if you can hear me and everything, there's no buffering, just put a 1 in the chat. That way we can, I can know to get moving a little bit faster. Evan says looking better though. Okay, much better. Awesome. Happy dancing. All right. So let's just start this whole thing over. Hi, everybody. I'm Lee. Welcome to Guitar 30 Challenge. Okay, got some ones in there. Great. Welcome to Guitar 30 Challenge, week 4. We're starting over. This is take 2. First one was, it didn't go very well. So we are on day 22, the last week of the Guitar 30 Challenge. We're going to talk a little bit about our own practicing. We're going to talk about, I found another one when I went through the house to make sure that, to see if people were like streaming a bunch of TV, if that might be the problem. And nobody was. So the only internet that was being used in the house was this. So it wasn't in the house. But what we're going to do is we are, so it wasn't in the house. And it wasn't in the chords. I mean, it wasn't in the apartment complex. So either because I checked my my speed settings, and I was getting good connection to the internet. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to keep moving forward. I restarted my computer, got a new stream. Maybe we got a good pathway to YouTube. Could have been something on the way. But on the way, looking around the house, I found a pick. I've got a few of them. Okay, so let's check the chat. Then it says funk chords and blues licks in celebration. That's right. The pick. You needed. Yeah, I didn't have the pick. I needed the pick for a good stream. So we're going to talk about how about you, Evan? Let me know a little bit about. Actually, I saw your video today. I looked at everybody's videos. I'm going to record mine later on tonight. But how would you describe the Guitar 30 Challenge for you? Helping with the pandemic or not, having a lot of extra time or not, challenges and progress you're seeing, any of those things. And everybody can also throw that in. Well, David said something funny. The pick of destiny. That's what's it? Tenacious D. What was the name of it? Was that the? I know it's Tenacious D. Chris says I was caught inside some sort of play guitar matrix. There's a lot of them now. There's a lot of videos now. What was it Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny? Is that what it was called? What was the name of it? Yeah, that was it. Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, So we're going to talk a little bit about our Guitar 30 challenge. I've got everything together now. Technology took another wrong turn for me today. So hopefully this is going well. I've got excellent connection on YouTube at this point, and maybe the route that it takes to get to YouTube is a better one this time. So Evan says, well, I haven't had a lot of extra time. I love having the reason to focus. And then he says, the focus has changed from chord shapes to chord theory with this week's lesson, but it feels like I'm taking a step into musicianship, which is exciting. Yeah, so I've found when I've been practicing that I have periods of time where it's just brute practicing, getting it done, and then other periods of time where I have to step back and learn a few things so that I can take a next step. So sometimes I actually move forward faster, taking a little bit of a break from the guitar and figuring some things out, maybe doing some things on paper, then coming back and looking at things with a new perspective. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. When we talk about the topic for the week, we're going to talk. I have a question for all of you, and I've asked a few people this question. There's no real answer to it. It's just your opinion, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. Evan also says, so I'm also spending a little more time studying, but my time with the instrument has been well used, putting some of the techniques from 205 into my playing. Yeah, 205 is called it's called putting it all together, and we do a lot of sequences, and sequences is a really good crossroads. It's kind of like we're learning chords, we're learning scales, we're learning all of these different things. We're doing improv, and they're all kind of going along together. And then when you hit sequences, they all kind of hit, and you start to be able to get some more musical ideas. Plus, you're able to relate to the chords better that you're playing over, and it just seems like that to me. That's the point where everything kind of just gels. Once you get to that point, you got a lot to work on. You got enough to work on there. To get to the next step, a little bit of music theory takes place, and how this happens. The succession of all of these lessons happen from my my in-person courses. Just having butts in the seats, people who tried to learn on YouTube, who couldn't do it. And so I said, well, here are the things that you need to know to be a player, to have someone who can just play. And we've heard that a lot. I just want to be able to play, and to be able to play, there's some knowing what you're doing that has to happen there. Okay, let me see if I can bring the chat back up here. Let's see if it. No, that wasn't it. So let me fix that. No, it's just not. Doesn't want to show up. Okay, by next week, I'm gonna have a whole new way of going through chat in the thing. I'll just read the chats to you. David says, chords are finally moving along a little better. I think a big problem is my rhythm. Once the way I like it, I like the way it sounds, I will make more progress. Yeah. I think that there's a succession of how this works. And the first is the mechanics of the chords, getting them to sound right, and then getting used to switching between them. And that's a good, and focusing on that is important. It's very important. And it's not something that you just should breeze through and try and get to all the other stuff. I think that I think spending this is maybe the only time you get to really spend on getting these chords down, and you can nip a problem in the bud. You can spend this time to say, oh, my second finger, I really need to work on that going back. Where if you were to just say, oh, okay, this is good enough, I'm going to move on to rhythms and and other things, you might miss that. So this is a really good time to refine your chords. So I think it's a great time. I wouldn't feel pressured to move too fast at this point. Spend that time to get those chords going really well. It'll be it will help later on refine those chords. It'll really, it's just good time spent is what I'm trying to say. So David, we're talking to David. The chords are moving along a little bit better, and so are you doing any playing songs? Are you learning any songs? Those kind of things. Having some fun with the guitar too. So I want to keep everything fun. I've noticed that I respond better to things when they're a lot more fun now. So the fun aspect of it, the second part of your practicing that I recommended, having the first part be stuff that you're working on, it may not sound good. The second part being refining maybe songs you already know, or learning some songs that aren't too challenging, something fun that sounds good to your ear, is to me even more important now than it has before. So David says, I'm to that F chord now, but super slow to try and transition. That's okay, man. Some people stay with that F chord for a long time and don't get results. So if you're getting results, even if it's not as fast as you'd like it, just keep going. You're doing great. You're doing really good. You're getting all of these foundational things taken care of first. And what you'll find, and this is part of this question that I'm going to ask a little bit later, is you'll find when you do get to the point where you've got all this information that you need to really move forward, things kick into overgear pretty fast, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So David says, I've learned some cool songs. That part's going great. Yeah, the F chord, I think it may be the thing that people have quit guitar over the most. The F chord. I've seen some people hate it so bad, you know, not just the bar chord F chord, but even the four note F chord. They're trying to get. There are some people who have just said, I can't. I would think that the F chord would be the one thing that really pushes people away from the guitar. I remember I had two sisters who were taking one of my classes, and one of them was just, you could tell she was just doing it for fun. She didn't care. But the other one was really trying, really struggling. And we got to that F chord, and she's really struggling. And I said, listen, it's in more songs than you realize. And I said, come on, let's go pick a couple songs. And she picked like two Keith Urban songs and then something else. Of course, every single one of them had an F chord in there. But when we picked those songs that had the F chord in there, it gave her a little extra fire because she wanted to play those songs. These were the songs that the reason that she took guitar lessons in the first place, because she wanted to play those songs. And so when it was tangible, she's like, this is the song I want to play. I can't play it without that F chord. That lit a fire, and then she went right for it. So let's see here. Evan says F can be a stumbling block. Everyone struggles with the F. And Chris says everyone struggles with that. Time will sort it out. Yeah, everybody does. Everybody struggles with it. I did. Everybody did. And especially, luckily, David, you've got a guitar with some really low action on it. Ibanez guitars are 9 times out of 10 really set up well and easy to play. So some people, I've had a lot of students who got an old junker acoustic where the strings are that far off the neck, and it's tough to press that down, and it hurts, you know. So but for you, just getting it sounding nice, and the work that you've been doing, I'm sure Everything's going wonderful, even though it doesn't feel like it. Okay, so let's see here. Evan says my first guitar was a cheap Harmony with a neck like a baseball bat. Yeah, yeah. The cheaper the guitar, not the least fun it is to play. It usually works that way. I've had a few cheap guitars. I had a really nice when I was teaching. I was teaching at Backbeat Music in Macon, Georgia, 20 years ago, I think. I think so. And what they would do is they let you use their guitars to teach with because I guess it would there would be more time for those guitars with the students and they might want to buy them or something like that. So I would always just pick a guitar off the wall when I come in, and there was this Squire Strat that had two humbuckers in it, and I think they wanted like $80 or something like that. And I just picked it up one time just as a goof, and it felt good and sounded good, so I would always teach on that guitar. And I don't know why I didn't buy it. It was a great guitar. Everything in it sounded good. The pickups were good. I don't know why I didn't buy it. I'm still kicking myself over that one. How about that? Do you ever kick yourself over a guitar that got away from you, or a guitar that you sold that you wish you still had? I have a couple of those. I have an old Les Paul I had. It was called a Fretless Wonder. It was a black Les Paul that I wish I still had, and I had a 330 Gibson 335 that needed some work, and at the time I didn't have the money to get it fixed. That the neck was it was having neck problems. It wasn't straight, and actually it may have been warped. I don't even know if I could have got it fixed, but I wish I still had it. It was a beautiful guitar. It was red. It's a red 335. It was a really nice guitar. And I had a Carvin. I think it was a DC 135, something like that. It was a kind of a shredded guitar, and it was stolen out of my car when I lived in Philadelphia. Um, they whoever helped themselves to it busted the front window. I guess maybe I had left some change in the front, and then they popped the trunk, and there was my guitar. And I had only just run into my house for a few minutes, came back out, and it was not there. Let's check the chat here. So, Evan says the F chord was miserable on that cheap Harmony, and David says since I started with Start Here Guitar and learning the basics has even made listening to music more enjoyable. Yeah, I find when you have the information and you're working the steps, you're confident. You get a confidence for listening to music. You can hear things in music that you may never have heard before. And also for when you see people play. You can really tell when you know what you're doing, you can really tell when others are either phoning it in or that they really know what they're doing. So that's great. That's a great step. Thanks for sharing that, David. Evan says, I still play the heck out of it though, right? And then Evan says, I never got my Squire set up and only realized after assembling my parts caster that it was terribly intonated. But the neck was nicer than the Harmony. Yeah, this neck right here, I've told you guys about that before. This is off of at one of the very first Mexican Strats that came out. I bought it was white. It was a white Strat. I bought it at Chuck Levin's Music in Washington D.C. For like less than $200. They had just come out, the Mexicans. I guess the buzz on the street was that people didn't want them or something like that. So they were just basically giving them away, and rightly so, because the body on that guitar and the pickups were terrible. You could take your fingernail under any of these screws and just pull the screw right out. It was like mush. But I love this neck. This is an old Mexican neck. And I think I heard that they made the necks in the United States and then shipped them to Mexico for assembly. So it was a really really nice neck. And this is a I think it's a WD replacement body. And then this bridge is I think I may have replaced this. This is like a Mexican bridge. It's not nothing fancy about it, but the one that they had back then um, was made out of really cheap parts. It wasn't very good, so they were better later on. So I think it's rusty, but it's newer than the rest. And then these pickups here are the Fralins that I use all the time. Okay, so let's see here. Um, Kenny's here. Hey, Kenny. Good to see you. Yes, 1999. Remember that red Paul Reed Smith 3/4 hollow body? Yeah, they had a bunch of cool guitars, but they had a lot of Paul Reed Smiths. They had a bunch of them. Kenny was one of my students back then. I think I had the second little teaching studio on the side there, depending. Actually, I taught at two of their stores. I taught at the one in Pinona, and I taught at the one when they moved on the other side of town. So Evan says the Parts Caster is the nicest guitar I've ever owned. Yeah, Kevin's here. Hey, Kevin, good to see you. And Brennan's here too. I don't know, Brennan, if I said hey to you too. Sorry I didn't get you in on the stream yesterday, Brennan. I was flustered trying to get all the technology to work. So I just grabbed a bunch of the names. I didn't have yours right there, but next Saturday, let's make sure that you, Brennan, you get in if you would like to. So Evan says, love those Olympic white Strats. Yeah, yeah. I got one. I got another one, and the white Strat I have now has the mint green pickguard on it. And actually, I sent the neck on that to Renee Martinez, who was Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar tech, and because I wanted to have the big frets like Stevie Ray Vaughan, and so he put them on there, and I couldn't handle it. It was it was so bad. It was so hard to play. So I ended up refretting that one again. So Kenny says Win Dixie. Yeah, that was Pinona. Yeah, yeah, the Pinona one. Does it make it interesting? It looks like Pio Nono, Pinona. How about that? So Brennan says, no worries, we'll get it next time. Yeah, yeah, you're head first on the list next time, man. I felt bad about that. I thought about that last night. I was just scattered getting it all. It got scattered again today. I was like, man, this is gonna be fun, and the connection went bad. This time I'm watching. I have a split screen. I've got what's going on the left and then on YouTube on the other side. And so I'm monitoring the connection the whole time. Okay. So thanks, guys, for sharing about your practice. Anybody else want to share? Kevin or Brennan or Kenny? Chris, if you want to share a little bit, feel free. Chris has been playing some really cool Hendrix stuff. Really good tone too. That with the Les Paul into that Marshall, it sounds really nice on video. Hopefully, maybe Chris will share some of that Hendrix stuff he did in the group a little bit later. As Evan says, my connection has held up. Yeah, it's holding up now. I don't get it. Maybe it was my computer. Maybe I needed a restart. I don't know why, because all I did was start it right up and do this, so. But all right, so I'm gonna ask you guys again, since this is a new video, if you guys could hit the like, I'd appreciate that to help us go forward. I'm gonna give a minute or two to see if anybody else wants to share how their Guitar 30 challenge is going, how their practicing is going, and how you're doing during the pandemic too. I'm to the point where I just want to have a lot of fun, and we've been eating a lot, and so I don't want to I don't want to gain too much from this. Okay, so we got some in here. Brennan says 30-day challenge has been awesome, especially for consistency. Practice makes progress. And yeah, and you're showing a lot of progress in your videos too. So very cool. And Chris says, I just play for fun and push myself with your help. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I really like that tone you're getting. That what kind of Les Paul is that again, Chris? Is that it's a Tone Woods, was it? I think. Sounds really nice. Really, really nice. I was thinking about that this morning. And Kevin's been busy with his son, but playing every day and been going through some Steve Vai video series. Yeah, I've seen some. I haven't seen his new one, but I've seen a lot of his one-off videos over the years, and also a lot of Joe Satriani's. And both of them are my kind of players. You know, they really stress knowing what you're doing, and and that's that's where I think I'm gonna once we get through these, we're going to talk about a little bit about that. So hold off. And also, yeah, I've been busy. My daughter's homeschooled anyway, so we've been doing. Usually, math is where I'm needed the most. We've been getting through some math stuff, so every once in a while, I just have to drop what I'm doing, get to the math. So Chris says, but fun is my main goal, and playing helps me relax, and the lessons help build confidence and bring new ideas. Sounds like you're in a good place. That's good. Evan says, it's given me resolve to push myself to get out when it's over. Start finding more ways to play with actual people. Yeah. And when you are a player who has a good solid foundation and knows what you're playing, and you're playing along with someone else who's the same way, things start to happen. Really, really fun, cool things start to happen. So I'm excited for you. So Chris's Les Paul's a Smartwood Exotic, very nice, straight into the Marshall, no pedals, with the contour at 1 and gain at about 7. Sounds really nice to me. I listened to your whole video this morning. It was very nice. Okay, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Let me see here. I'm going to go into studio mode just for a second. I can get something set up for us here really quickly. Okay, so all right. Okay, one more second here. One more second till I can find it. Okay. So I'm going, let's bring this in. Okay, so I've been inspired by a couple of the conversations I've had in the past couple of days. And there's a question that I've been asking. I may have asked this to a few of you as well. And the way that it seems that a lot of people learn guitar is either one extreme to the other. You've got a whole set of people who just learn songs, and they learn songs, and they learn songs, and they learn songs, and they, through learning those songs, start to figure out how things kind of work over time. And it takes a long time. And then you have the other set of players who build their skill set up first. And when they've got their skill set together, then when they do learn songs, they know them. They know them inside and out, and can take those ideas and change them in different ways. And I've asked people, what do they think I'm going to ask you guys too. What do you think is the best way to go about to just learn tons of songs and try and figure out what it is those songs are doing over time? Or the other way, which is really start to build your skills and your foundations first. And then they both have good things about them and they both have bad things about them as well. And this is going to be in my, um, let's see here. I'm going to call this How to Learn to Play Guitar Really. You see a lot of this how to learn to play guitar stuff. And this is not for beginners, by the way. This is for anyone at any level that wants to really get better, wants to learn how to play the guitar. And that's my thought process with this. Although these things are geared towards beginners, the question that I ask is which one is better? Songs. Let me go make this bigger. 2 ways to go. Songs versus skills. Which one is better? And I'm going to have here, I'm going to say the good and the bad for both. Okay. So I think we've had enough time there. I'm going to check the chat. What pickup, Chris? 1999. That's 1999. AB wireless pellet. I'd like to pick one up. Chris says, "Come on, Lee. You know the tone is in the fingers." That's right. So we're still talking about that. So Evan says, "I'm weirdly in the middle. I kind of started with learning songs as a teenager, but hit a wall that I'm now trying to scale by using the foundational approach." Then Josh says, "I think combining songs with a lesson that uses that technique would be the best way to go." So right down the middle in between the two. Or I'm just call this ideas. So let's see. I'm going to get that right from what you said. Combining songs with a lesson that uses that technique would be better. Combining songs with lessons about that technique. Or the flip of that, which is something I like to do, is teach the technique and reinforce with songs that use it. All right, let's head on back here. David says, "I think songs are a big help, mainly as motivation to keep going. Being able to make music that sounds familiar is a big motivation." Okay, so for songs, this will be from David. Songs for motivation. And that's at all stages too. Most people kind of think, well, that's just for beginners. They want to know this and that. But I think being able to play a song that you're not sure you're able to play or you've been wanting to play, no matter what stage you're at, is very motivational. Okay. So then Evan says, "So I'm thinking a blended approach is probably the most logical." That's kind of where I'm headed with this. And so you guys know me. You guys have listened to the podcast. You know how I teach, and you guys are seeing results. So you guys understand where we're going with this. But not everybody does. There's a lot of people who are beating their heads against the wall, trying to learn these songs, trying to learn advanced songs because they're their favorite songs, and they don't have what they need to learn them. They don't have what they need to know what they're doing. They're just mimicking what someone else is doing, which is fine to impress your friends with, but it keeps you right where you are. You don't move forward. So that's where I'm going with this. And I'm really appreciating your take. Um, so Brennan says, I agree with Evan and Josh. I started off wanting to play songs I heard, but quickly found myself in over my head and had to learn some fundamentals first. So let me switch this up. So songs, and we'll do this skills. And so this would be the good for songs, and then we'll have good for skills and bad for skills. So Brennan was saying the bad part of just the learning the songs is getting in over your head pretty quickly. Okay, head back to the chat. So Brennan says, I agree with Evan and Josh. Started wanting to play songs I heard, but quickly found out myself having to go back and learn the fundamentals. Then Chris says, you have to be able to play something familiar first and then start to unlock. Joey's been playing bass this week, so he looked at Seven Nation Army and pumped up kicks at his choices. So being able to play something familiar and then start to unlock. So the song being familiar, which is being comfortable with what you are learning. Great. I'm going to put Joey down there too, so I remember. Okay, so I'm just acting as a guide at the moment. Very, very good. Josh says they could be both frustrating. If not, I learned songs first, but wish I had the technical background. Now it would save a lot of frustration, but I'm catching up now for sure. So the bad for both of them is not getting the other. So not getting songs you want to play down if all you're doing is working on skills. And that also brings up something too. I've had a lot of students, some of them are great practicers. They'll practice all the time. They focus on skills, practice all the time, but they never get out and play. I've had several students like that where they're very structured. They're very structured, and they're very and they're progressing and they're achieving, and maybe that's that's all they really wanted. But the problem is that there are some things that you learn from sitting in a room with other players hashing it out that you don't get from the playing alone. You know, there are some intangible things you wouldn't think of when you're jamming with other players. That's really important. And at some point, when you have the skills and you have the songs, it's time to do that. And I think Evan, we talked about that at one point. It's time, find some players. Of course, this wonderful situation we're all in, blew that up for everybody. But when this is all over, some time. Sometimes it's time. Okay, so let's see here. Kevin says, when I learned how to play in high school, I really only learned enough to play rock songs. And that served a purpose back then, but I feel like I never really learned the instrument well. Yeah, and also, even in those rock songs, there's music theory in those rock songs that's not really evident. Um, there, even though someone's playing a power chord and it's just a power chord, there is harmony in that. Where's the harmony? With the other players in the band. The singer could be playing a major third. So you're playing a power chord, and the harmony that's going on is major because of what the other players that are playing in the song. The bass player could be playing a major riff, and you're playing that. So where in rock, we're always geared towards playing minor all the time, it could be completely different. And if you didn't know to look for that or to listen for that, that could be a big stumbling block for you. So so it was when I learned how to play in high school, I really only learned enough to play rock songs, and that served a purpose back then. But I feel like I never really learned the instrument well. Yeah, and learning your instrument can make those rock songs awesome. Really doing stuff with them. So Evan says, I think skills alone become dry quickly, so you need to learn songs to keep the interest. Right. Chris says, I never force him to play, but he trusts what I tell him. I'll see how far he goes, but he's happy just copying at the moment. If it lasts, it will take him further. Yeah, and that's another thing too. What if that's all you care to do? I just want to be able to play this song. I don't want to move forward. I don't want to. I just want to sit at home and strum this song. Awesome. Nothing wrong with that. If that's all you want to play, you should be happy. I guess where I'm going with this is because I deal with people who are not happy. they're not where they want to be. And so that's where I'm going with this. I'm reaching out to those people. And I'm also talking to people. I'm talking to you guys. I'm talking to me too, to take a hard look at where you are, and what you're doing and what could I change to really start moving forward again, no matter where I am. Okay. Evan says, every time I work on my repertoire, I remember why I love playing guitar. Yeah, songs are the reason. The problem is they're also a stumbling block if that's all you try to do. David says, I look at the tabs and only pick things that are close to my skill level. I think that's great. And Chris says, just songs will lead you on the career beginner path. Yeah. Whole podcast on that. There's a couple. So let's see. I've been doing this for 2 years. And the first episode has tons and tons and tons. Learning guitar in 2018. Wow. So that was a big one. And over time, people listen to them a lot. They go back and listen to the old ones, but the career beginner one hit home. It really hit home, and I'd like to do a lot of YouTube videos gearing towards career beginner stuff, and so that'll come up pretty soon. But becoming a career beginner, I got so many emails over that. That's me. That's me. How'd you know? Because I've dealt with a few career beginner people before. Okay, let's get back to this. Just songs with, okay. Evan says, that's my feeling too. Chris says, I made him polish my guitar. I get a clean bass and he feels a bit of ownership. Yeah. Brendan's got the smiley face. Evan says, there is a psychological part there about feeling like you're ready to start playing with others. That's right. Evan says, Kevin, that sounds like me. So Brendan says, the great thing about learning full songs versus just learning skills is that you have something as a finished product, a sense of accomplishment. Right. And the problem is that that sense of accomplishment. I know some people who are just it's just a number. I want to play 100 songs. I want to have 100 songs, and that's great. But what ends up happening is if you don't have the skills, those 100 songs. You ever heard someone who plays like a whole bunch of songs, but they all sound kind of the same? They don't. They just use the same type of voicing chords. They don't really know the songs well. So, neat thing. It was neat. But you're right, Brennan. It is that accomplishment there. Did I write down accomplishment for songs? Good motivation, familiar. Okay, accomplishment. All right, back to the chat. That was Brennan. Chris says, have to put a lot of listening in. Need to listen to music to get ideas. Hear things to learn. Helps to motivate. Sometimes you need to switch off, understanding that things will come with time. I think that's right. And Evan says, I think that's why a podcast that kind of picks apart a player's style is a good idea. If we know in advance who will be discussed, we can put it in a lot of listening before the episode. Yeah, it's going to be either Joe Satriani or David Gilmour. So maybe you could do a little listening of both of those guys. That would be for next week. Chris says, I think all of us in the main are happy because we know we're on the upward curve. Quick wins and keep making wins. It's also something to reflect on. How far you've come helps progress and measures. Okay. You're here, Chris. All right. So Dave says, I've only been playing for a year now. I think I'm learning slow, but very happy with the skills I've learned so far, and playing is still so much fun. Yeah, and I don't think you're going slow. I think everybody learns at a different pace. There's some people who learn really quick, but they also blow past some things that they really need. So I think with guitar, slow and steady definitely wins all the time. I don't know if you can hear that. We've got new neighbors above us now. Okay, so it's 5:15. Sorry about all the technical problems that we had early on. I'm glad everybody came back over to the new stream here, and I'm glad that we got a lot of really good discussion on this topic. And it's a question, like I said, there's no real answer. I think Evan said it. You're something in the middle, kind of pulling a push and pull between the two, songs and skills and songs. When having something where you feel like, okay, I'm working on these skills too much, bam. My problem is copyright. Let me switch over here. My problem is copyright. What teaching songs online can be interesting. So one of the things I thought about is throughout the lessons, me writing a song in the style of the songs that I'm really thinking about. So, having background tracks and having all of those things ready along with as we're learning these skills too. So it may not be someone's song, it's something that I wrote, but it's in that style. So that when you do go to that song, you'll have that. So that's an idea that I'm working on too. Okay. So Evan says this was a great chat. Yes, we are getting better at these chats. Yeah, you guys are the core group. We're gonna. I've seen that. I watch a lot of live streams in different styles, in different areas of interest. I'm really interested in live streaming, and this is how it works. We start off with a core group, and we're just gonna keep doing it for anybody who wants to. I'm just gonna be here Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and we'll just attract more people over time. But what's really nice is this core group, we can set the tone of how these are going to go. So I really appreciate you all hanging out with me. I think this is really really going to be beneficial, a really good idea. It's really worth the extra time that we're putting into it. And I appreciate all of you being here. Chris says, I think if you do an artist-specific songs to highlight a particular technique or tone helps point something in direction if they're coming in cold. Yeah. Plus everyone bring more people in here. I'm getting a new guy coming in. Yeah, I'd appreciate that. If anybody you could bring in, I appreciate it. I'm going to start on my I have a lot of people on the email list, people who have signed up for the free course and people who've just signed up for the different downloads. And that first one, I sent an email out, and we got a lot of people in here. And then, so what I'm thinking about doing is sending two emails out a week. One on Wednesday about the podcast, or and then one on Friday about what's coming up for the weekend, the live streaming schedule. So that people who are around for the weekend, they'll have everything that's going on right there, kind of coming up kind of email. So that may help too. But anything that you guys can help with, I am very appreciative, and I appreciate you guys hitting the like on this video too. I'm gonna try and get these pushed out a little bit more. They're not doing bad. We usually have like between 10 and 20 people who watch the stream, and then with it a few days it doubles, and then they'll just keep going on and on and on. So I think this is a good one. Keep it. I'm going to keep thinking about ideas for when we're finished with the Guitar 30 challenge, what we should do on Fridays and Sundays. Maybe some. I've got some ideas. Maybe I'll put them up to a vote in the Facebook stream. Okay, I'm going to say bye. Evan's putting it out on Facebook. Thank you, Evan. I appreciate that. And Josh says, "Good stuff, Lee. Thanks. Good day, everybody." Yes, good to see everybody here. And I'll be back tomorrow at 4 to do the pie. I'm going to finish up what we've worked on today in the morning, and I'll do the podcast live on Monday. Going to shoot. It's getting late here. Later's all. Yeah, we'll see you. Everybody have a good night. Great to see you. Bye-bye.